All right, so in this section, we're going to be looking at key reading strategies and practice before the test. Now again, as I said in the last video, with the reading in the IELTS, it's very, very important that you do a lot of reading practice before the test to help increase your speed and your coherence. And I'm going to show you in this lesson what you should do to practice and quickly improve those skills. So the first strategy that I'm going to show you is what's called critical reading. Critical reading simply means to analyze the passage information in a clear, logical, and systematic manner. So in this lesson, I'm going to show you how you can look at the passage from the beginning to the end when you're practicing and train your thinking to clearly understand the information and break down the information into pieces using critical reading, basically to analyze the passage. Now, for this skill, I'm going to use the example from the previous video, the passage there, so please check out that video. And this example is coming from www.aehelp.com, so if you would like more practice, more examples, please visit us at our website at www.aehelp.com. Okay, so let's look at critical reading as the first technique, and let's look at the steps involved in how to become good critical readers. And again, this skill is not just going to help you for IELTS, but it's going to help you a lot for your future university studies as well. All right, so the very, very first step in critical reading is look at the title of the passage. Many students, when they see the passages in the IELTS, they don't really pay attention to the title of the passage and often the picture that's provided with it. This is not a good idea. You always want to stop for 15-20 seconds, make sure you read the title, and then look at the picture and try to predict what this passage will be about. So, in our example, we can see that the title is Mountains of Ice. And beside this title, Mountains of Ice, we can see a picture with an iceberg floating in the ocean. So it's important that here you just stop for a second and ask some important questions. So first step of critical reading is spend 15 to 20 seconds to analyze the title and picture, and then predict the passage. So the key here is what you're doing is you're trying to predict the information in the passage. This is going to help you a lot because when your brain collects information that it already knows about the passage, it will be much easier for your mind to recognize the information that you already have in your head. And the passages in the IELTS are usually fairly common topics. So they're usually topics that most people around the world are at least a little bit familiar with. So it's important that when you read the title, you collect all of this information from your past, from what you heard, what you read in books, what you saw in movies, what you saw on the television or on the internet, and use this information that's already in your head to try to predict the passage. Again, remember that the IELTS passages do not lie. They have true information. So the information in the passage will match with other true information that you have from your past. So what do we do to predict the passage? Well, when we look at the title and the picture, we need to ask what, why, and how. These are the three most important questions for information and for communication. So it's very important that we think of information as what is the information, why are we discussing this information, and how can this information be discussed. So let's look at this picture and this title, and let's try to answer these three questions. Okay, so the first question is what? And keep your questions simple. So in your mind, ask yourself, what is this picture? This is a picture and title showing an iceberg. And it's just that simple. Seems like an easy step, but you have to do it. So this is a picture and title showing an iceberg. This is the answer to our what question. Now let's ask our second question. Why? So here we want to ask the question of why. Why is this important? Especially, why is this important for people? Humans always like to think about themselves first. So much of the information in the world around us is connected to humans. So why is this important? Well, think about it for a second. Why are icebergs important for people? Okay, there are a couple of different answers. Global warming, for example. Global warming is creating more icebergs. So as the planet warms up, more and more pieces of the icebergs break off, and therefore we have more icebergs floating around in our oceans. All right, what's another reason why this topic is important for us? Well, if we really think about it, we realize that icebergs can be quite dangerous for people. So icebergs are dangerous for people because they sink boats. So as most of us know, icebergs can be very, very dangerous when people are out in boats, especially around the north. And if they happen to hit one of these icebergs, it can definitely mean that the boat will sink. And unfortunately, in some cases, it means that people will often die. So this is the what. The what helps us get into the why. We ask why the question is important. And then we start to think about these ideas of global warming and the danger of icebergs for boats. All right, now to predict a little bit more, of course, we should go to our third question, which is the how. So how is the question, and how have we seen these kinds of explanations of the why in the real world? I think many people here will remember that one of the most famous cases of icebergs sinking boats is the ship Titanic. It's a very famous story. In 1912, the British cruise ship Titanic hit an iceberg and sank to the bottom of the ocean off the coast of Canada. So, for example, the Titanic sank in 1912 and many people died. So not the happiest of topics, but that's not always the case. So again, here we have the what. This is a picture and title showing an iceberg. Why? It's important probably because of global warming, and icebergs are dangerous for boats. How? Well, for example, the Titanic sank in 1912, killing many people. And if you can reach this level of predicting from the title and from the picture, you are on the right track to really help increase your speed and your score. And it's no surprise, if you remember from the last lesson, that this passage includes a full paragraph about the sinking of the Titanic. So this is the logic of information and information exchange. Remember, the title has a lot of information. It helps to warm up the brain and collect information that's already inside the brain. Make sure you use this technique because it will definitely help you. Alright, so now that we understand how to use the title, we're going to use critical reading for each of the paragraphs.